Hello again, everybody. Zack Attack is here with my WWE Raw review for tonight, Monday, May 20th, 2013, called the Aftermath of Extreme Rules. Well, it's Raw. The Extreme Rules, kind of a mixed bag tonight. It was okay. A decent six-man tag. Plus the debut of the new Paul Heyman guy, which, at the time, people like me, and I'll comment when it comes up, disappointing pick for the Paul Heyman guy. We thought it was going to be someone, let's say, a star. Like RVD or somebody, and of course, typical WWE doesn't want to do anything exciting, yet they bore us. But the main event involving this new Heyman guy, the ending was kind of weird and Raw tonight. But let's see how this new guy does. Whoever he is. That's not a star. We'll see how he does the next couple weeks to come, but let me say this. I'll bitch about him all we want. I think everyone's going to bitch about the new Paul Heyman guy, and I will give you my critique when I get to it, like I mentioned. But let me say this. Give him a chance. People like Fandango, we stopped on him, but yeah, he's doing okay. Same with Ryback. And I still bitch about Ryback. And I'm glad Ryback did not win the WWE Championship last night. But it was a silly ending with, of course, what happened last night in Extreme Rules. If you didn't see my review, of course, John Cena wasn't on Raw tonight because of his storyline injury being carried out on a stretcher last night, following being taken out by Ryback spearing him through the screen. Well, symbolism is the best term to use. How we began Raw tonight with an ambulance coming out with Ryback in it, wearing a new Ryback shirt. Of course, Ryback rules. We didn't see my Extreme Rules. I got a new name for Ryback. I should have thought of it earlier. Ryback. So Ryback came out and said, Cena, I know you're not here tonight because you're recovering from the beating I gave you last night. But I propose a rematch, which we should have guessed after the ending of last night's match. An ambulance match is proposed by Ryback against him and Cena at Payback, the next pay-per-view in Chicago, happening June the 16th. And he would indeed send a message to Cena later on in the evening, using that ambulance. But like I said, Cena wasn't there tonight selling the injury that he sustained last night. So he may end up showing up next week via satellite or on Raw to address Ryback's challenge for a match in the next pay-per-view Payback, which would be an ambulance match. So we'll see how that goes. But the match was actually not that bad last night, though we more so than it was, but still the ending was kind of strange, like I mentioned. So, but at least it did. But at least, although it made Cena retain the championship, at least Ryback is not champion. But still, it would have been a lose. It's a lose-lose, in my opinion. So we have that. So after that segment involving Ryback challenging Cena, and about to send a matches to him later on, we're on to our first match, tag team match involving Chris Jericho teaming up with The Miz against Fandango, and sporting a new theme, which I think is kind of weird, the Intercontinental Champion, Wade Barrett. Now, Fandango did come in and did his little moves around the ring, but I think he cared more about his dance moves outside the ring than in the ring. Following some moves in the ring, taking over the early half of the matchup. It was kind of a weird segment. It wasn't even a match, it was like a segment. But, after an early start from Fandango coming in, beating up Jericho a little bit, Fandango tagged in Wade Barrett. Now it's the only tag he made. Because Wade Barrett and Fandango had words. So like I said, Fandango focused more on his dance moves outside the ring than in it. As Fandango was dancing with his partner Summer Rae, with his theme song playing in the crowd doing a Fandango dance, did more people than it did last night. This Kansas City crowd was an okay crowd. But as Fandango was dancing, basically Fandango left his partner high and dry to get his ass beat by Miz and Chris Jericho, delivering all their finishers. Chris Jericho delivering the Code Breaker. And then, of course, Miz delivering the Figure 4 leg lock. In the victory for Jericho and Miz, with Fandango pussying out. And speaking of pussying out, as Jericho and Miz were going to beat up Fandango after the match. And then, well, Fandango pussy out of that as well, leaving Summer Rae all alone. So Jericho, a few weeks ago, he did a little dance with Summer Rae to her disgust. But once again, Jericho danced with Summer Rae, only to freeze her in the end by playing her like she played Jericho last week with that fake injury during that little dance-off last week. So there you go with that. Jericho and Miz wins after Fandango walks out where Leslie dances instead of wrestling with his tag partner, Wade Barrett. Leaving him to tap out to Miz, sparking another rematch possibly against Miz and Barrett as soon as Barrett defends his U.S. IC Championship this Wednesday on main event against Sin Cara. Now on our next match, Sheamus coming off his victory against Mark Henry, who said on a WWE app he's going home, or Mark Henry may take a break for a while. Sheamus took on one half of the PTP, Titus O'Neil, who I'm glad that the PTP's finally getting back on TV. We saw PTP last week in a tag match and winning. Facebook, we see Titus O'Neil taking on Sheamus, and Titus looked okay in this match. He looked pretty good, especially with endless interference from Titus's tag team partner, D-Young. Darren Young. And with that distraction, that initial distraction from Darren Young, basically sacrificing himself, getting clotheslined by Sheamus, that distraction helped Titus take control for the later after the matchup following an early fury from Sheamus. And it looked like Titus O'Neil was going to get a huge singles win, and Titus had great advantage. He really looked decent against Sheamus tonight. But like all the rest, Titus ate the white noise and the Brogue Kick eventually after Sheamus put a comeback and a 1-2-3 victory for the Celtic Warrior, gaining momentum after winning, like I said, against Mark Henry last night at Extreme Rules in their strap match. So there you go. Sheamus gets the win over Titus O'Neil in a decent matchup with O'Neil looking very good. Now on to the topic that's going to get everyone talking for all the right and the wrong reasons. Paul Heyman tweeted through an evening that it was going to be revealing a new client, a new Paul Heyman guy, to be revealed tonight. There was speculation running wild. RVD, Batista, Cesaro, a lot of these people, especially I think a lot of people, including myself, were really hoping for RVD. Been hearing rumors about Rob Van Dam coming back. And I was standing up for this segment because I was ready to go nuts. So here's Paul Heyman's segment and my reaction to the guy. Paul Heyman, here to say that my client, Brock Lesnar, is indeed a man who beat Triple H last night. And I can make stars. With Brock Lesnar done with the WWE, I use that loosely because Brock may be not done, or maybe because Rock's not coming back ever to start their feud for Mania next year. I'm going to reveal a new guy. This will be a moment that will be looked upon 10 years from now. Well, we'll see about that. So press your record buttons now. So here's the new Paul Heyman guy. I was up and I was ready to mark out for RVD. I was like, RVD. Cut Axel? Michael McGillicuddy? What? What the fuck? Wah. Once again, WWE hypes something up and once again disappoints. Now, there's things I like about this and don't like about this. I like the fact that WWE's pushing McGillicuddy, but McGillicuddy hasn't done anything significant. But at least they're going to give him a chance to do something significant with this push with Paul Heyman involved. And I like the combination. The name's kind of weird for some people. I kind of like it, the combination of his dad, Kurt Hennig. I know Michael's been complaining about his name for a while. I've been reading rumors about him being upset and frustrated. But now he's got a new name, Kurt Haxel. A combination of his grandfather, Larry Axe Hennig, and of course his dad, Kurt Hennig. I like the remix. The theme is a remix of the Mr. Perfect thing. I do like that. Khan. He's not big, in my opinion. He hasn't done anything significant besides teaming with Husky Harris a few times in Nexus 2 years ago. He's probably one of the only few Nexus members that hasn't done anything good for himself. You know what I mean? You see D Young doing successful with the PTP. D Bryan, what else do you have to say about him? Wade Barrett, current IC champion. Heath Slater, jobber to the stars with the 3MB, the Job Squad, what you want to call them. Ryback, aka Skip Sheffield. So most of the Nexus guys made it big, but not McGillicuddy. He was the odd man out. Because he was last minute addition for the second season of NXT, not the first season. He's not the best wrestler. He's okay, but he hasn't been pushed enough. So, although, like I said, I'm disappointed that the guy ended up being Michael McGillicuddy, not who we all thought it was going to be, but that's WWE's way. That's WWE logic for you. They hype something up and disappoint you yet again. But, let me say this. I said in the beginning of the video, I may give McGillicuddy a chance to really shine in this gimmick. Because look at Paul Heyman's successes. Who became Paul Heyman guys? Lesnar, Paul Heyman guy, former WWE champion, King of the Ring. CM Punk, who we still miss tonight. Enough said about him. And even Paul Heyman was in WCW. He managed stars like Stunning Steve Austin and Mark Callis, aka Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker. So who knows? Let me say it. It'll take time for McGillicuddy / Kurt Axel to shine. Especially with his first matches against Triple H. Yep. Not even 5 minutes in the segment with crowd reaction silly, with nobody setting on their hands for Kurt Axel. Triple H comes out ready to squash McGillicuddy and end his. And I was starting that he was going to end the push faster than it started. Triple H was like, I'm going to beat you up, Heyman. I want you. But until then, I'm going to beat up your new boy, Kurt Axel, and squash him and don't let him get over. But, as we would see in the ending of the main event, that wasn't the case. Before the match, we would see Triple H talk to doctors and Dr. Storm not to wrestle. Triple H wrestled anyway. And like I said, with that result, we'll see what happened in that main event later on. So there you go. The new Paul Heyman guy, Kurt Axel, a.k.a. Michael McGillicuddy with a new name. Disappointing to me. But like I said, we'll give him a chance. But like I said, I hope RVD returns sometimes. And by the way, speaking of disappointments, no Christian, no Evan Bourne return tonight. Disappointing for that too. Hope they come back soon, especially Christian. So, I know everybody said the same thing I was. What the fuck? Michael McGillicuddy? He's the guy? Not RVD? Fuck. You know? But RVD is still decent, but some people say RVD's old and stuff, but hey, maybe RVD can't do it anymore. But hey, we saw him in TNA do well. So, but we'll see how McGillicuddy does. But as of right now, McGillicuddy, mixed bag for me. Kind of a on the fence, but it's still kind of a somewhat of a fail for now. Until McGillicuddy proves that he is a star in the rough, a diamond in the rough, should I say. Now on with our next matchup, which involves Alberto Del Rio, of course, getting that number one contendership for the World Heavyweight Championship after that weird finish, the other weird finish besides Cena and Ryback last night, and the match against him and Jack Swagger with the instant replay angle going on. But Del Rio didn't have much time to celebrate as he would take on the World Heavyweight Champion sidekick, Biggie Langston. Of course, Dolph Ziggler once again knocked down. There was rumors he may be teased for a comeback, but I think Dolph still recovering from his concussion. Get well soon, Dolph. Can't wait to see you back in that ring. Showing off and stealing the show like you always do. Anyway, speaking of stealing the show, that's what Biggie Langston did. Despite an early rally from Alberto Del Rio, starting off early with, of course, his numerous attempts at the cross arm breaker, Biggie Langston looked very good. Probably, I hate to admit, it's probably Biggie's best match. Despite maybe a little help from AJ in this matchup against Alberto Del Rio. Like I said, after that early fury from Del Rio with the numerous attempts at the cross arm breaker, Biggie Langston outpowered it, and of course beat the crap out of Alberto at ringside, outside the ring. Indeed, threw his weight around big time, dominating over Del Rio with just slams and kicks throughout the entire match. But indeed, Alberto tried to fight back, and he indeed came back at once and was ready to get the victory. With a super kick to Langston, but of course Biggie powered Alberto out of the ring. But indeed, as Alberto was starting to get back to, AJ threw the bucket of Ricardo Rodriguez at ringside into the ring to distract the referee. With referee distracted to throw that bucket out, Big E poked. Took a cheap shot and poked a butt on the eye, setting him up for the big finish. The big ending in a 1-2-3 victory for Butto, not for Big E Langston. Yes, Big E Langston beat the number one contender for Dolph's title. So we'll see how Dolph Ziggler answers to what happened with his contender getting his ass beat by his bodyguard, his head honcho. What do you want to call him? Big E Langston. After Big E got the win with a little help from AJ, it was AJ's turn to get in action against Layla. Of course, AJ and Caitlyn still not happened yet, but they'll probably fight for the title soon, especially that skit happened last night with the Looney Tunes joke at Extreme Rules. Typical Divas match. AJ got the victory after a little bit of another quick Divas match. But of course, second week in a row that AJ delivered that nasty, that great, devastating finisher, the submission hold, the Black Widow. In a tap out for Layla, AJ wins. Black Widow, killer move. Let's move on. With our next scenario, Zack Ryder taking on Cody Rhodes. Woo, you know it. Cody Rhodes recovering from his match against Miz last night. Pointless match at the pregame, but decent nonetheless, despite lack of build. Recovering from that, Cody Rhodes dominated early on. It looked like it would be an easy scotch, which it was. Despite Ryder coming back, Ryder ate the devastating, beautiful disaster kick in a 1-2-3 victory from Cody Rhodes. With Ryder still nursing the disaster kick spot. I mentioned earlier when Ryback came out in the beginning that they got the ambulance out. He was gonna send a message to Cena, where he sent the message using Zack Ryder as the bait. As Ryder, like I said, recovering from that beautiful disaster kick, here comes Ryback beating up Ryder, delivering some big moves, the shell shock, clothesline and a power bomb. And after that shell shock, Ryback threw the helpless Zack Ryder into the ambulance. Like I said, sending a message to John Cena and showing John Cena what his future would be if John Cena were to accept the Payback ambulance match for the WWE Championship and he would lose. But ain't Cena, Super Cena is going to be like, oh, I'm going to accept probably next week. Because like I said, a Cena-less Raw tonight. That's the only good thing about tonight's Raw is no Cena tonight. Yeah. One of the few times it's Raw without Cena, it's still kind of a mixed bag, especially with Kurt Axel. Of course, we would see Kurt Axel wrestle Triple H later on. In the ending, we did not expect, but didn't do anything. Now on to our next matchup, which involved a 6-man tag. Shield, of course, winner of all the gold, U.S. champ, Dean Ambrose. Rollins and Reigns, new tag champs. And of course, taking the former champs of U.S. and tag, Kofi Kingston and Team Hell No, who are starting to disarray a bit. Hopefully, like I said in my review last night, hopefully it'll make D-Bry finally go for singles titles instead of tag titles. But I will tell you, this match was pretty decent, pretty good 6-man tag, despite the fact it was another Shield match. But still, great exciting match nonetheless. Great advantage. The faces really wanted revenge after losing their matches last night. So the faces, once again, like usual, typical Shield matches, got the advantage early on, especially with hot tags from Kane and D-Bry, double team moves, and of course, Kofi Kingston coming like a house of fire. But of course, once indeed, Rollins, who was getting his butt whipped for most of the matchup against Kingston, got that quick spot, the quick tag, impulse in, and of course, Shield took advantage for the later half of the matchup, for the second half of this matchup. Of course, doing what they do best. Triple teaming in the corner, isolating the good guys, indeed dominating with the quick tags in and out, showing why, as a unit and separately, they deserve to be the new champs of U.S. and tag teams. Believe the Shield indeed. Hey, if Shield can become new champions, they can push Michael McGillicuddy. So, there you go. Let me say this. whenever they push new guys, we always hesitate. We always judge new talent. It feels like, oh, they're not ready. But then when they really develop, like the Shield, for instance, we bitch about the Shield. Like, oh, I hate the Shield. They're stupid. They're like, wow, they're decently good. So they could have with Axel, like I was saying earlier. Maybe give him a chance. But anyway, but still disappointment for now, like I said, in my segment about Michael McGillicuddy, Axel debut. So, after indeed the Shield took over, D-Bry got the hot tag. And D-Bry did, of course, the big flying goat moves. And they got the no-lock in, but Ambrose got to the rope. But indeed, Shield got the control quickly than the faces would have it. And indeed, Rollins would dominate with some decent moves. Great moves from Rollins. Some decent spots in this matchup with Rollins getting in with some great moves. And it was a great match. There was some decent, awesome matches. Great, fast-paced action from these 6 guys, especially after Kane got the hot tag. And, of course, started dominating. And, of course, as Kane would dominate, the other members of the Shield would pick up the count. Like, I think Kane and Reigns were left in the ring after D-Bry and Kofi took out both Rollins and Ambrose outside the ring with double fly moves. Like I said, leaving Kane and Reigns in the ring, the legal men. But indeed, as Kane was dominating over Reigns, of course, Rollins and Ambrose got back up, broke the counts. But as Kane was going for a choke slam, Rollins and Ambrose laid out both D-Bry and Kofi, unable to help. Rollins came up as Kane was going for the big choke slam, and Reigns came up the top with a flying knee to the head of Kane, knocking him out. Followed by the spear from Reigns and the 1-2-3 victory from the Shield. Still undefeated in 6-man tag. And of course showing once again the dominance. Especially now that they're all champs now in the WWE. You know, like I said, it was a great match. A pretty good fast-paced, probably the best Shield 6-man tag I've seen. Pretty good, especially in the last 5 minutes with Ipsos Fury. You know, some great spots in the great fast-paced action, especially from D-Bry and Kofi and Kane. It was some great spots in there, some great action. Great 6-man tag. Very exciting. High-paced action in the 6-man tag tonight. Even though Shield won again. But hey, Shield showed dominance and proved by they all deservingly sure of being the champs of the U.S. and tag divisions. Now with our next match, before we would get on with Triple H and Axel, it's time for the of course, the obligatory. I'm trying to think of the word. It's time for the obligatory WWE Active match. Of course, Vicky Guerrero was very upset at what happened with Swagger and Coulter trying to cheat last night. And of course, in that instant replay, silly ending with Zeb Coulter saying it's a conspiracy against Swagger for being champion. Well, backstage, it is a conspiracy because Jack got high, because Jack got high, la 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 da da, because of course Jack Swagger got busted before Mania with a DUI, got caught smoking weed. So backstage is a conspiracy, because Jack got high, etc., etc. So the active match involved Jack Swagger and the choices that to pick on the WWE app was advertised 10,000 times again. I do have it though. I do like it. If I was using a different app tonight. Anywho, Orton, R-Truth, and Khali were the 3 choices. I knew they were going to pick Orton. For one thing, it's in Missouri. Orton's hometown. Especially after his win over Big Show last night. And yes, indeed, Orton, in a landslide, fixed voting or not, Orton was the one to be chosen to fight off Jack Swagger. It was okay match, being a co-main event. Indeed, Swagger had a little arm patch after getting the armbar on him last night, having to say I quit after the silly restart of last night's I Quit match. But indeed, of course, Orton focused on that arm immediately as he took control for the early half of the matchup until Orton had an injury that Mr. Swagger started to target. the knee, following a missed suplex attempt by Orton. Orton landed bad on his knee, storyline or not, fake or not, and of course Swagger started salting that leg, focusing on the leg, talking it to weaken it for, of course, the big move, the Patriot Act. But indeed, Orton came flying back for the later half of the matchup, dominating over Swagger, including a DDT on the outside. But indeed, Orton got out of the ankle lock many times because Swagger did eventually get on the ankle lock many times during the match. But the Orton kept getting out of it. And of course, every time Orton would counter the Patriot lock and try to get back control, Swagger would indeed get back control. And of course, Swagger got the ankle Patriot lock on again. Orton got to the ropes. And even Swagger tried to deliver his big splash, even delivered the gut wrench powerbomb, but the Orton counted out of every attempt that Swagger tried to do. Orton indeed, after Swagger was going for a big move, Orton finally got the DDT in the corner, ready to get the RKO on Swagger and finish him off. But then Swagger got the Patriot lock once again, locked on Orton. But Orton kicked out of it, counted out of it, and with Swagger kicked out of the Patriot lock, Orton delivered the RKO for the second time, got to nail it after the second attempt. 1, 2, 3, Randy Orton gets victory over Jack Swagger, sending him stumbling downward spiral yet again, following his loss against Alberto last night in a little screw jobby finish with the instant replay restart, and now losing to Orton tonight, especially in his home state of Missouri. So there you go. Orton gets a victory over Mr. Swagger. Now, we would later find out, I don't want SmackDown, but Kofi Kingston gets a rematch against Ambrose this Friday on SmackDown. So now on to the next matchup. The main event, Triple H against Curtis Axel. I thought it would be an easy win for Triple H. Of course, like I said in the segment, when Axel made his debut, Curtis Axel made his debut as a Heyman guy. I said in my comment about that, I said Triple H is going to squash McGillicuddy / Axel and end this push before it even begins. Well, little than I know. And like I said, also doing that, Triple H would visit the doctor. And the doctor said, after your beating with Lesnar last night, getting destroyed, especially getting nailed in the head with the sledgehammer, you're not, in my mind, the doctor's mind, cleared to wrestle. But Triple H didn't listen to the doctors, and we're seeing how that ended up. How that did for Triple H. But indeed, in the beginning, it did look like the match I knew was going to be an easy squash for Triple H, destroying McGillicuddy early on, and almost got a pedigree early on, but indeed, after, of course, Axel got thrown out of the ring by Triple H, and was going after Heyman. Heyman's distraction for Triple H got Axel to get back into the race, and actually, Axel / Curtis Axel, like I said in my critique of his debut, give him a chance. He looked okay tonight against Triple H. I thought he was going to get squashed really easily against Triple H. The guy doesn't want to go over him. But I'll give Triple H credit. He kind of made Curtis Axel go over, especially with the ending. But Axel, of course, took over for the later half of the matchup. And, of course, destroyed Triple H with some decent moves, some clotheslines, some decent moves. But after Axel's little fury, last-minute fury, Triple H came flying back with his Irish Whip to face buster. But indeed, as Axel was thrown out of the ring again by Triple H, of course, something seemed wrong to Triple H. Triple H kept feeling woozy. Of course, the beating of Brock Lesnar finally got to him, and his doctor's advice not to wrestle catched up with him. And unfortunately, was not good to Triple H. Triple H was feeling woozy, but despite being woozy, Triple H did try to fight back and did try to beat up McGillicuddy / Axel some more, but unfortunately, despite every attempt to keep fighting, Triple H finally gave out, and he got on the announcer's chair trying to drink some water. But then finally he collapsed, and the match was thrown out with Triple H passing out. And that's how we end Raw, with the doctors and everybody attending to Triple H at this little collapse. So, Axel didn't exactly lose. Like I thought it was going to get squashed easily. But still, Triple H collapsed. Of course, I say it's a storyline. I really was hoping that Brock Lesnar was not going to appear and beat up Triple H and help Axel win to set up Triple H Lesnar fall, which is what we don't want. But like I said, the ending came and Triple H passed out. Of course, I think the beating, when it comes to the storyline injury, I think getting nailed in the head with, I think Triple H may have suffered a storyline concussion after getting nailed in the sledgehammer from Brock Lesnar, and the effects finally getting to him. The effects of that finally catched up to Triple H, and of course, like I said, the storyline collapsed, and maybe his concussion was doing the talking. Post-concussion syndrome, or whatever you want to call it. Post-concussion syndrome when it comes to storyline, that's what I'm probably going to say. What caused this collapse of Triple H tonight during the match with him and Curtis Axel. So that's how we end the night with Triple H getting checked out by the doctors. That's how we end Raw tonight. So like I said, just okay, Raw. Great 6-man tag. My last comment. I'm going to end my Raw review tonight with this last comment about Curtis Axel. Like I said, me and of course everybody on the internet and everyone making these YouTube videos are going to have mostly the same opinion. Of all the guys to be the new Heyman guy, WWE had to once again disappoint us by picking a guy like Michael McGillicuddy. It's like Hornswoggle being the legitimate son after months of hype. Didn't have a big payoff. That's what this whole thing is all about. This Heyman guy was teased. We thought it would be like some shocking comeback like RVD or something. But no, typical WWE doesn't want to excite us and have a stupid guy like Curtis Axel. But like I said, I was negative about him, and I have, and I still am as of right now. But we'll see how it goes. You know, like I said, it'll take time. It took time for Fandango. It took time for the Shield. It took time for all these guys that we hate from the beginning to finally get used to and say, hey, this guy can okay wrestle. So, like I said, I would tell with Curtis Axel and see how his little push goes. And see if he'll actually do something with this opportunity. That's what you do with an opportunity like this. This Michael/Curtis Axel's big opportunity since Nexus. And hopefully he takes the ball and runs with it and takes advantage of this opportunity before it goes down again like I thought it was going to be with Triple H tonight. So there you go. That's it for my Raw review tonight. See you all later. Thank you all very much for watching. With that in mind, you have all been attacked by the review from Zack. Have a great night, everybody. And stay cool, especially if you're in Michigan when it's like, 85 degrees today. And prayers to Oklahoma and all the victims of the tornado. Didn't mention doing the attack line, but I'll say it on here. Thank you again. See you later. Yeah.